is Sophia, and I am here today to talk to you about the second movement of the Vieuxtemps Violin Concerto Number 4. So this movement was a very interesting lesson for me to learn. I went into learning this movement thinking, oh, nice, like it's a slow piece. It's set in adagio religioso, right? Adagio religioso meaning a contemplative slow. So after the first movement and all of that excitement, right? All those crazy runs and those crazy things that I was doing with the bow, I was like, oh, good. A movement where I can just kind of take a breather, right? Because I took the adagio, which meant the slow part, and religioso, which was the contemplative part. I just saw the slow and I was like, contemplative? Okay, whatever. I'll deal with that later. I'm just grateful for the slow. But I didn't realize that this would be a much harder piece for me to learn because of things that were not in my awareness at that time. So when I learned this piece, I learned it by myself, in a practice room. I had my music with me, and I just wanted to make it really pretty, right? Oh, it's a slow piece, cool, it's pretty. And I kind of neglected the fact that I wasn't playing alone, and I just took the steady beat part of making music, and I was just like, I'll think about you later. I just kind of just wanted to make the notes pretty, and I didn't give all of the notes the value that was written for it. I would go into my lessons and I would play for my teacher, and I would be like really proud of myself. I hope he really likes it. He has this really great teaching method where first he gives a compliment, and then he gives the advice for what I should work on in the week before I see him for the next lesson, right? So I would have played for him, and he would say, wow, that was very beautiful playing, Sophia, and I would be like, but then he would say, every time there is a note that has more than 2 beats, I become a little bit afraid because you would clip it off. The notes would be way too short, and the pianist can't keep up with you like that. So I was like, okay, cool. I guess it's time to pull out my metronome. And I made the notes have the full value that they needed, right? Notes with 3 beats would get 3 beats, notes with 4 beats get 4 beats, and then the ones with 5, kind of like that. And it just became a chore. Instead of thinking about the notes, I thought about the amount of time that each note should receive. And I felt about the piece. So this next clip is a recording that I did before I had to go home to quarantine. This was filmed on March 17th, 2020, when I was still able to rehearse with my pianist in person. And here in the video, I don't really show too much emotion. Like I said before, I kind of just played the notes to play the notes and to get this jury, which is a fancy word for saying violin test or instrumental test at the end of the semester. But I just wasn't very present in the notes that I was playing. you to the timeline of when I learned this piece. So I started it in February, okay? And then I put it in the back burner in the beginning of April, okay? So February 2020 till April 2020, right? That falls right on top of COVID, the beginning of COVID, right? And then like COVID it just kind of took my world as I knew it, and it just went flip. It just, everything that I knew my entire life kind of changed very dramatically all of a sudden. When I brought the second movement back to put it all together for my recital in October. So at this point in time, I was starting to think about the things that I missed before COVID hit. I was thinking about the things that I just didn't appreciate enough in the moment. For example, sometimes I would walk with my friends from class to the cafeteria to get food for lunch or something, and we would just have a lot of fun talking and laughing, maybe complaining about the class and the homework, and then going to lunch and saying, oh, I'm so hungry, me too, I look forward to this and that.
One such thing that I forgot to mention here was the fact that I got to rehearse with my pianist in person, which is a huge deal. It's something that I completely overlooked, and I completely did not appreciate enough while I had the chance to rehearse with her in person.
Those moments that we don't have anymore, I got a little bit sad, but I realized that now I have a lot of things that I didn't have back then. So then bringing it back to the piece, I realized that my notes were kind of like that. Instead of thinking about how each note needed to fulfill this amount of time and then, okay, that's done. Instead of thinking of it as something that just needed to be done, I started to put beauty and appreciation into every beat of that note, every in between the beats of the note, right? I realized with my nostalgia on looking back at the time before COVID, I realized that in order to live fully and to be really happy, I needed to put appreciation and joy into each moment that I'm living. I need to understand that now is all we have, and I really made my piece beautiful because I appreciated each and every note, each beat of every single note. I put beauty and love and joy into the third out of fifth beat in those really long notes, and the fourth out of fifth beat, and the fifth out of fifth beat, and the ending of the notes. I put joy into those too, and that's what made this movement really a valuable lesson for me, because first I understood that I needed to give every single note enough time, but in order to make it beautiful, I needed to fully appreciate the note as I'm playing it. I hope that from my story of the second movement, I hope that you can take with you that every moment is really, really, truly a gift. And although not everything is perfect and beautiful all the time, I think that we can live thinking about the past all we want. We can live thinking about the future all we want. But in order to be really happy and to really fully appreciate everything that we have, we just have to enjoy the moment. And now I hope you enjoy the second movement of the Vieuxtemps Violin Concerto No. 4. Thank you for listening.
One last thing that I do want to insert into this video, post-recording, is a comment about that sigh at the end. So that sigh was the mark of the halfway point in my recording. So I had to do this all in one take, and I set the bar right at the halfway point. If I had messed up really poorly in the first half, I would have to start over and from the beginning and record all over again, because then my mistakes would have been unforgivable. But once I made it to this halfway point, I was really happy, because in this take, particularly for my recital, I had made it to the halfway point and I was pretty happy with my work, and I just knew, okay, we don't have to restart for the millionth time, and now I can move on and play the rest of the piece, and hopefully I wouldn't make any mistakes that were too terrible where I would have to start all over again. And also, it was a really nice moment to just kind of breathe and recompose myself, because that already, I believe it was around 15 to 16 minutes of recording already. So at this point, I just breathed. That sigh was just, oh, thank goodness, I made it. But thank you for listening to my video today, and I hope you stay tuned for the last two movements of my concerto and putting together the recital while socially distant.